So, maybe two cheers across the nation for that. Let's turn to an area for which you are directly responsible, and that is immigration. You and the Prime Minister regularly remind us that we now have control of our own borders. So why are you planning to spend time and resource on new legislation?
Well, these are important changes, Trevor, around the UK's approach to immigration. And it is correct. The Prime Minister rightly, and I speak about, this is absolutely part of our manifesto commitments to take back control of our borders. And we've done that by ending free movement. That was part of leaving the EU, but also introducing a new points-based, a British points-based immigration system. That's one important aspect of legal migration, dealing with legal migration and how we have our rules in place, how we also support the brightest and the best to come to the United Kingdom to bolster our economy and support businesses in terms of their own economic growth. What I'm unveiling and proposing tomorrow is a new legal migration and borders strategy, which very much sets the framework for the future, which is based upon digitalisation of our borders, but also the simplification of our immigration laws. Currently, thus far, we've already simplified something like 21 immigration routes, and we're in the process of simplifying almost 500 pages of immigration legislation and rules. And there is so much more that we can do in this whole area, and that's effectively what I will be announcing tomorrow.
Home Secretary, I understand why you're focusing on simplification and technology and so on and so forth, but in what way will new electronic gates at airports stop boats crossing the Channel to Kent or people hiding in lorries? Well, there are two.
So, Trevor, there are 2 points to make here. First of all, digitalisation is absolutely important because we can upstream checks, we can do checks on individuals before they even arrive in our country, and that's important in terms of criminality.
Are not presenting themselves to be checked.
I will come on to that in a minute. I'm also, when it comes to illegal migration, so the digitalisation is speaking about legal immigration. Illegal migration is a very, very important problem and issue for our country. It has been an issue for decades and decades, whether it's the back of lorries or people crossing the Channel in very, very dangerous circumstances, being facilitated by criminal gangs and people smugglers. I am introducing the new Borders Bill, which will come to Parliament next month, where we will specifically clamp down and tackle the problems around illegal migration. We are going to change our laws. We will have not just greater checks. We've already got very, very significant law enforcement operations taking place in France, in Belgium, upstream. And we're already prosecuting and arresting the people smugglers. Last Wednesday, I myself saw a number of arrests of people that had been trafficking and facilitating people. Yeah. But the key point to make, Trevor, is that when it comes to claiming asylum, and we are going to change our asylum laws and our asylum system because it's broken, people that are being smuggled, they should be claiming asylum in a safe country, the first safe country that they travel through. More often than not, these are EU member states, rather than taking the risk of coming to the United Kingdom. And so we are going to be proposing legislation. I've made the announcements already. We've published our new plan for immigration, which tackles this very issue, illegal migration, people trafficking.
OK, Home Secretary, let's get this in perspective. Since the beginning of the year, I think that you have deported something like 700 foreign criminals. But according to the Pew Research Organisation, there are something like 800,000 to 1 million undocumented migrants in this country. And that, I think, is probably what most people are worried about, how you deal with that. And the proposals you make don't address that at all. And let's take a case in point. 10 days ago, in Glasgow, the Borders Agency, Border Force, attempted to remove 2 Indian men from Pollock Shields because they'd overstayed their visas. A large crowd gathered. They blocked the road, completely peacefully, by the way, I should say. And in the end, the Border Force gave up. And the men are still here. What are you going to do about that?
Well, Trevor, you're exactly making the case as to why we need to reform our immigration system.
But the reform you're proposing has nothing to do with this.
It actually does. So the reforms I'm proposing cover legal migration and illegal migration. So you mentioned, for example, the number of people, foreign national offenders. These are high harm criminals, people that have committed all sorts of atrocities against British citizens in the United Kingdom. We will continue to remove those individuals. And in fact, many of the part of the proposals that I am bringing forward will make it easier for us to remove foreign national offenders. So we will stream. So if I may,
explain to me what you're going to do about the two gentlemen in Pollock Shields.
I will in just a minute. So we will also be changing many of the appeals processes where individuals go to court again and again and again to thwart our ability as a government to remove high harm individuals or people that have overstayed their right to be in the country or who have come to the United Kingdom illegally. So immigration enforcement, and not border force, it's immigration enforcement in Glasgow, they were stopped from removing two people that had no legal basis to be in the United Kingdom. They were doing their job. The protesters stopped that from happening in terms of the removing those two individuals. There is a whole process around the removal of people that should not be in this country at all, people that are here illegally. So we will continue to strengthen our laws to enable the government to remove people with no legal basis to be here. That includes foreign national offenders and criminals and people that have come here illegally.
You're going to have another go at removing these gentlemen. What do you think the First Minister is going to say? Because 10 days ago, she tweeted, the Home Office needs to ask itself hard questions after today. Doing this on Eid in the heart of our Muslim community and in the midst of a serious COVID outbreak was staggeringly irresponsible, but the even deeper problem is an appalling asylum and immigration policy. Are you going to confront Nicola Sturgeon on this question?
Well, the point about our immigration policy, immigration is a reserved matter for the government here. And quite frankly, it's pretty clear that when it comes to the nationalists in Scotland, they would much rather have an immigration policy of open borders, no checks when it comes to criminals coming to the UK, and no border controls. And I think actually her comments also reflect upon the nationalist position when it comes to removing people that have no legal basis to be in the UK. This is nothing to do with Eid at all. Immigration enforcement are absolutely doing their job in terms of removing people with no legal basis to be in the UK. I think it's absolutely a sorry state of affairs that we see the nationalists in Scotland basically trying to thwart the safety and security of the British public, but also trying to prevent the British government from removing those with no legal basis to be in the United Kingdom. This is, Trevor, exactly the reason why we are changing our laws and bringing in new legislation so that the government can remove people that should not be in our country while protecting the safety and security of British citizens through the legal routes and the digitalisation that I'm proposing.
I look forward to returning to this with you, Home Secretary. But